has withdrawn its proposal for a greening project in CD13. To avoid funding loss, the $150,000 involved must be reprogrammed. The LA for Kids Steering Committee has recommended Children's Institute as the recipient of these monies for an urban greening project located in the same council district. The report recommendations will accomplish the reprogramming action with no impact on the general fund.
So money goes from Hollywood Beautification to Children's Institute?
Yes.
And it all works out? And
Yes.
Hollywood Beautification's been briefed, Children's Institute's been briefed, everybody's happy?
Hollywood, this is actually based on the withdrawal of the project by Hollywood Beautification.
Got it. We'll recommend approval. Next item.
Item number 2 is a second LA for Kids Steering Committee report relative to various actions regarding the CRA's California Plaza awnings project.
This item is similar to the previous one. CRA has withdrawn its proposal for awnings project in CD9. The Ride to Boys and Girls Club is the recommended recipient of $180,000 in Prop K competitive funds. There are no eligible projects in the same council district to receive these funds, so instead the funding is being retained within the same southern region. This has been vetted with both involved council districts. The reprogrammed funds will be added to an existing contract for which a 37-month extension is recommended to coincide with the completion of the agency's master plan.
We'll recommend approval.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 3 is a Department of Aging report relative to a contract amendment to the Senior Community Service Employment Program.
Good afternoon, Jamestown Department of Aging. This is just a technical follow-up to the report that my General Manager, Laura Trejo, had presented to the committee. This is an amendment to our Title V Senior Employee Training Program. We received a $241,856 reduction. We have utilized attrition in the program to minimize the impact, and we're right on target.
So it feels good that the director supports that as well?
Yes.
Okay, recommend approval. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is a Department of Recreation and Parks report relative to $1,500 grant for the Class Parks program and for the Teens Outside program.
Good afternoon, Councilman Labange. It's nice to see you again. Mike Harrison, Principal Recreation Supervisor, Recreation and Parks. The department was awarded a grant from the National Recreation and Parks Association, $1,500 to supplement our Class Parks program for an overnight backpacking trip to Catalina Island, and we were just hoping for your approval.
Very good. Hey, why did it take, Madam Clerk, I'm asking you, you're on the question here. Why did it take from October in their commission hearing, October 14th to the 1st of April? Why did it take so long to get this $1,500 here? Because I hope we didn't impede your ability to serve.
No, sir.
Yeah. You know why it took that long?
I'm trying to find out when it was transmitted to the city clerk's office. It just came to the city clerk's office February 19th, 2009 from Rec and Parks.
All righty. But it goes, where's it go from Rec and Parks Commission? To the mayor's office?
That's an internal Rec and Park procedure, I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Whatever the case is, we're happy to approve it. Ms. Hahn?
Thank you very much.
Moved by Ms. Hahn, seconded by me. And Ms. Hahn?
Yeah.
Please welcome Ms. Hahn to this meeting here. We did do some items before, which were functionaries, transfers. Would you approve those? Madam Clerk, recall 1, 2, 3, and 4.
All 3 items?
All 3 items.
Items 1 and 2 were LA for Kids Steering Committee
Right.
reports where they had various actions regarding reprogramming funds. And item 3 is a Department of Aging report regarding a contract amendment.
You're all good with that? Unanimous vote, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Item 5, please.
And item 5 is a report from the City Administrative Officer relative to an agreement with Jones and Madhaven for as-needed mechanical engineering services.
Good afternoon, Emily Maeda with the Office of the CAO. Before you is a report recommending the approval of supplemental agreement number 4 to contract number 2727 with Jones and Madhavan. The proposed supplemental agreement extends the term of the contract 1 year from 12 to 13 years and increases the maximum compensation by $50,000 from $1.45 million to $1.5 million. Funding is provided in the project budgets. Proposed agreement is in compliance with the city's financial policies. The CEO recommends approval.
CAO recommends approval?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn, any questions?
No.
Okay, recommend approval. Item 6, we have a public comment card from Deputy of the Councilman Jose Weezar's office, Jessica McLean.
Right, and item number 6 is a report from the Department of Recreation and Parks in response to a motion from Weezar Parks relative to a request to extend the discount evening parking rate at Pershing Square Parking Garage.
Hello, Mr. Labange. Hello, Ms. Hahn.
Hello.
My name is Ann Vollmer from the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Yes.
We're here to answer any questions
What's the rate right now?
for the discounted
The
rate.
park, no, the park. Let's say if someone was going there tonight and they got there at 7:45
It's $6.60 if you're out by 1.
in the morning,
Yes.
and are you going to discount that even more?
No, the request is to extend it to 2 a.m.
Right, okay.
Because what happens at 2 a.m.? It goes up to,
At 1:01, currently, it goes up to $15.40, the maximum rate, if you arrive at 5 o'clock.
So what was happening, council members, is people would come to experience some of the nightlife in the historic core, and
Right.
they would be out just a little bit past midnight, or 1 o'clock, and then they would have the $6 plus the $15. So it ended up being quite expensive.
yes.
So the idea was to ask the department, and they've graciously agreed to do this, to extend the hours. Councilmember Labange actually requested 4 o'clock in the morning, which we thought would be a great idea once Broadway's up and running too. That came back with a cost of about $150,000 to do it. So Rec and Parks' recommendation, which our office is fine with if it pleases the committee, is to go to 2 a.m., which is an hour extension, which allows more nightlife and experience of downtown without
So how much, so is it by the hour? It's not by the hour, is it? It's by, or,
There's a flat rate if you come in after 5.
after 5.
Till 1.
and that's the $6.
That's right. So.
Okay, so you just want to extend that to
2 a.m.
2. Of course, I always told my kids, nothing good happens after midnight.
That's correct, and that's why I went to 4, because sometimes at places when they're drinking spirits, they shut the spirits off at 2, and then they drink something else that's not a spirit, and hopefully they're in the right mind when they transition the area there. Knowing the councilman's interest in trying to revitalize Broadway, and the committee worked on it, we'll recommend it, but I do believe it's a tragedy. We sometimes see all too often in our city, things happen after midnight that could be avoided. So make sure there's good lighting, make sure there's security there. Is there security there?
24/7.
24/7, and then make sure that there's a little reminder, put a little sign,
Don't drive while drinking.
yeah, and drive safely, so you could come back and pay the $6.25 again. Thank you. A nice picture of Mr. Weezar and his signature. Okay. All righty.
I'll be sure to let them know that was your recommendation.
You betcha. We'll move this forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, what is the process? I think the department was also, so at this point, the committee then recommends they make that change?
Yes.
And then, does that need to go to council to make the change, and then it's official, or is it a policy procedure?
Well, we're going to ask the city attorney and it's not, I don't think it would have to be approved by the council.
I think it's
I
policy.
think the commission has to do it.
Or the commission.
Of the park commission. But who runs
I don't know.
But the city now runs the parking lot.
That's
Right, so.
But Rec and Parks
Right.
receives the revenue.
Mr. Brown, did you want to speak on an issue?
Work
You-
closely with you.
What item was it?
But who receives the revenue?
You can come up now because we're all done, but I will open
Parks
the room.
receives the revenue and then pays GST.
To run the parking lot?
Yes.
Mr. Russell Brown?
Russell Brown, Executive Director of Historic Downtown Bid and also President of Downtown LA Neighborhood Council. We've worked for a long time with this, and I'm also a co-chair of the Pershing Square Park Advisory Board. We're very supportive of this. In reading the report, though, I was very confused how adding extra revenue to a parking garage where people aren't coming in so they can pay parking would cost the city $150,000. So we're not anticipating that there are suddenly going to be 10,000 new people that are going to be parking in this parking garage. What we are looking for is to encourage Pershing Square to be that regional center, and people could take the metro, come to Pershing Square, and then stay a couple of hours extra instead of and park in this lot instead of the other lot. So most people would normally come downtown anyway. Now we'll just be creating a safe place for them. I do think 2 o'clock probably is a good compromise. 2:30 maybe would be a little bit better. But we do want to do this in a way that makes sense for the city and helps bring revenue to the park, but also supports the downtown businesses.
Well, the money that you get there, does it go 100% back to Pershing Square? Just goes to your general fund, right?
Goes to GSD to run the parking lot.
GSD runs it,
There's
but you get a little.
Complicated formula, but yes, it does go.
And what's the 150, what is the 150,000 that it will cost you to make this change?
I believe that with GSD, it's the additional staffing they would have to put on, because if you're going to open it till 4, they have to have a higher level of staffing. Right now, it's a limited staffing that late at night. So from 1 to 2, they could extend the staffing. If you extend it till 4 and you don't know, right now there is no proven demand.
Here's what it says here in the
Yeah,
report. The
confusing
proposed
report
change
for
would
me,
extend the time frame for discount evening parking rates from 6:50 to 4 a.m. instead of 1 a.m. Currently, most evening special events garage customers exit by 1 a.m. The impact on the revenue due to the proposed change cannot be determined at the present time. However, understanding that Councilwoman Janice Hahn is on the committee, we should note that increased costs to recreation and parks, parking operations for staff, maintenance, and security, and supervision in order to handle the potential increase in customers. GSD provided recreation and parks an estimated $150,000 annually to implement the extended rate till 4 a.m. They chose this number for no significant reason other than the fact that it was a round number. Madam Clerk, what's today's date? Okay, it's April 1st, so I just read a little that into it. They just threw that estimate out. I don't think it's going to cost $150,000 at all, but they threw it out like a street
It
closure.
would seem to me that if we had 4 extra people an hour at $6 each, that's $24. $24 would
They're making
pay
more than $6,
an hourly
Russell.
charge for whatever.
They're making more than $6, whatever it is.
It would be.
The
So.
formula might have been the differential between midnight and 4 a.m. of the people that would have been paying the.
Yeah, I think that's what it was too. They're actually
That's right.
they're calculating lost revenue.
That's right.
Not additional staff. But now that it's just going to 2 o'clock,
Well, I think it says here it's going to 4 o'clock,
Right.
doesn't it say
No,
here
I-
4 o'clock?
yeah, but, right.
Here, all right, here, recommend.
but we're
Recreation and
back-
Parks
we're-
supports Bring Back Broadway initiative proposing to extend the evening hours time frame to 1 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Right, that's
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
That's what we're going
I
for.
think 2 is probably a fair
I think
compromise.
that is too.
so.
And with
What happens if you come at 2:15?
then you're paying the daily rate that you
Right.
would have paid an hour and 15 minutes.
Right, well, that's why you should go to 3. If you're doing this, try to encourage people, and then they walk out slow, because and I have not been out that late in a long time,
Well,
last century.
Liquor
Last
service,
century.
Liquor service has to stop at 1:45. So, if.
No, they don't pick your drink up till 2 o'clock.
well,
last
it could be
I
out the
remember.
door, and at 1:45, they start picking up the drinks. So,
Really? I thought it was 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, they have to be closed, but you physically cannot have anything in your hand by 2 o'clock.
Well, anyway, okay.
They'll just need to leave 15 minutes.
If you investigate it, Ms. McLean, and then you report when we're in council if we need to recommend anything other than this. Find out if we should say 2:30, only because you don't want people to wait till and walk, and I don't know what clubs are up there, or restaurants, if there's something at one of the theaters, and they walk back there, and all of a sudden, somebody gets slapped with an extra $15 because it's 2:07. So you'll let us know before we come to council. We're going to recommend this approval and move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So moved.
Question 2, is there a interest in the library department with the Pershing Square? Do you know about that? Anybody know about that before you leave, Recreation and Parks? The library department wants to encourage more people to park at Pershing Square, so watch for that when it comes. Thank you so much. All right. Next item is 7.
Item number 7 is a CAO report and a cultural affairs report regarding a motion by Smith Labange relative to the feasibility of
Thank
expanding
you, Rec and Parks.
the annual council civic fund allocation.
Got it. Okay.
It depends.
Mr. Lee.
For instance, here's the,
Labange?
I want to know them in Starbucks, I gotta remember that.
Go ahead, John. You're
Okay.
not a first-timer?
Yeah, good afternoon, Councilmember Labange, Councilmember Hahn. As we all know, in these tough economic times, it's all the different council offices are being affected in trying to hold community events. And we look to different funds that are available to each of our council districts. And one of the funds that we've always turned to is council civic funds. And this is usually used to assist with artistic and cultural activities. But unfortunately, council civic funds has many limitations on what you can use those funds on. Catering and equipment rental, which are often some of the biggest expenses when it comes to community events, are not included in the allowed use of these funds. Council civic funds are normally used for, I believe, currently for acquisition of placement of public accessible works of art, acquisition or construction of arts and cultural facilities, and we currently get $20,000 a year, so it's really kind of hard for us to normally do those things. Just to give you an example of something in our district, that one of the things allowed under cultural civic funds is historic preservation. Well, we have a proud history of a lot of old movie actors that used to live in the 12th district, and Jack Oakey, who is a famous comedy movie star, has a home there, and we don't have the $20,000 won't allow us to purchase the house, obviously, but the $20,000 will at least let us to hold an event that many movie industries movie companies are interested in helping us purchase the property to keep it a historical monument and to possibly turn it into a historical movie museum in the North Valley. So other than that, this is also will allow us to acquire 10 acres of open space that we could then give to Rec and Parks. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to use these funds to hold, a catered event to try to raise funds for the purchase of the OK House and the property. So these are one of the limitations that we face.
Okay. Let's hear from the department.
The department does
For the
not...
recommended file,
Okay.
identify yourself.
It's Saul Romo for the Department of Cultural Affairs. The department does not recommend making any amendments to the ordinance to expand the use of the council civic funds. When thinking about the department, our goal is to support artistic and cultural programs. And expanding the allowable use of these funds into new parameters such as catering or rentals of equipment, as has been proposed, diminishes the amount of money that's available for specific artistic and cultural programs. Currently, we fund a lot of projects at the community and neighborhood-based platform, summer concert series, film series, parades that involve performers, animation workshops, after-school writing workshops, and we think these are appropriate for the community level. The issue with providing food is, quite frankly, we'd much rather be hiring more artists or art components rather than paying for food or catering. There are instances, for instance, in the Bridge Gallery or even at our municipal art gallery where we do have exhibitions, and it would be nice to have some kind of reception. But the thing is, I could be putting more artwork up or hiring more artists or performers at a particular reception rather than paying for the food. And we traditionally for donations for that.
What you're saying, if we were purely in the artist's interest, we'd allow the money to stay where it is and work with the department.
Correct.
But if we were in the interest of the council office, which tries to serve everybody, it would become another reservoir for us to use to draft resources for people, if it's specific towards arts. Because the thing, John, that I'm concerned about is the dwindling grant program for people who are into arts. So, but I know Mr. Smith is big key on this, so we need to have a full explanation. Do you understand the full variety of challenges in this issue here?
I mean, we're looking for each council office to be allowed to use the council funds that are provided to their individual offices. The $20,000 that we removed this year, we don't know if it necessarily will be in the 09-10 budget. Currently, we're asking to be allowed to use these funds to allow us to hold community events where it is harder to get food provided at different community events. It is harder to get at all of our different cultural events. And also, we have an opportunity to maybe acquire 10 acres of open space in historical land.
Right, I got that. But let me ask a question here, because this is point counterpoint. Okay, you hear what the deputy's saying, who's on the front line for the council office out there with the community.
Correct.
But we'd be taking money that you would give to artists.
Correct.
Right,
So if, let's say, the money that you have would support 5 artists,
right,
you look over your right shoulder,
right.
look over your right shoulder, you would help all those 5 artists. You look to the left,
6 of them. 'Cause there's one out there that we won't know that will
Right.
come forward.
Right.
I mean, here's an example, I'm going to try and meet to get down and help Dr. Bresky with his art exhibition.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
think, those kind of examples that come forward are
Right.
appropriate because they're within the parameters of an artistic and cultural programming. And while I certainly appreciate that the greater context in which the council wants to serve its constituents versus the acquisition of park property, you do have the Quimby funds, and other sources that are specifically geared toward, building on those kind of purchases.
here's what I want to see. I want to see a graph that shows a box, where the money is, where you project the money would go if this actually takes place. Because I think it needs to be seen graphically on that, not just by written word.
Just a point, I mean, some of the, in the city of Los Angeles, what's more of a cultural event than some of the movies that our movie industry is part of the culture of the city of LA. And some of the movie nights that Councilman Wesson, Councilman Smith, and other council members in this area have drowned thousands and thousands of people.
And then the movie nights, which are very successful in Mr. Smith's district. I know you had Grease last summer.
Correct.
Did you go to it?
I did.
Yeah. Did you like
I
the movie?
brought my whole family.
That's good. But you want to tap those funds for that program.
No, I'd like to use them all together. I mean, our movie night is one of our successful cultural things. But we can draw more people if we're allowed for equipment rental. Right now, we need to rely on donors, and as we all know, right now it's getting harder for us to look for donations.
What if we put a cap on it, John?
Like that.
What if we put a cap on it? Because let's say someone would rent a box something or a Fender Stratocaster or something. I'm just using a musical term from rock and roll. They have some. I need help from the CEO's office. Maybe they have some cap. The council office have a cap, so they're not overspending, but yet they are meeting the need. I could understand whether you agree or not. It is a cultural experience to bring people together and watch a movie, whatever it is. It's usually a family fun night. It may not be the opera, or may not be something as artistic. So I kind of hear point counterpoint. You're on the wrong side right now. John's ahead.
Well, let me give the tonal counterpoint there, and that is a lot of these successful productions. The amount of money in the Council Civic Fund is not going to be sufficient to really cover a production. I'll give you an example. El Grito. There's no one council office that could successfully sustain the financial burden. So you pool the money together.
Plus you get donations from Disney.
But you get donations for Disney. We look for private donations or partnerships when we can, and understandably that those funds are dwindling, but we do make efforts to use the money as leverage toward other collaborative projects. So, for instance, when I have events at up at the Barnesville Park, when I have the Chinese Chamber of Commerce asking us for money, money is part of the artistic component. It's part of an overall festival and an overall component. So, I'm not going to dismiss that we don't have a niche. It's just that we don't have enough money and shouldn't be using all of those funds to support the full weekend or a full festivity, because it's not all, if it doesn't have a full artistic program.
Aren't those separate funds from like the arts fees? I mean, I'm talking about the $20,000 that's provided every year individually to each council office. Right. Those, we don't donate to those larger things. Those larger performances are put on by and paid for by the arts fee through cultural fairs.
Or through a super donation.
Well, I'm not talking about touching those funds. No. We're just talking about touching the $20,000 that have been allocated to our council.
Ms. Hahn, would you like to see a org chart on this concept? Point, counterpoint, what the existing is, what Mr. Smith's proposal is, to visualize it. I need it. So if you could second my motion to request the departments to do that. Yeah. Or do you understand it totally?
No, I'm getting it. I'm not as much of a chart person as you are, but.
Okay. That's all right.
I'll second it.
Okay, good. So we're going to hold this for 2 weeks, yes.
And just one last thing. I mean, we've now held this.
Summary of the chart.
I got it. That's good. That's good.
We've now held this item since 2007 was when we originally heard it, and now we've continued it. The last time was 6 months, the last 2 weeks ago. And we're just really, we really don't want to miss out on the opportunity for this Okie.
I got it. I just need, here's, I'll do this for you.
We can hear
I'll do
it
this for
the
you.
next couple of weeks.
No, we'll send it to council, but when it comes to council, if I don't have an org chart, I kick it back to committee. How's that for putting pressure on?
Good.
Okay?
Good to me.
All right, now, who's going to do the org chart?
I was just going to say, who are you tapping?
Yeah, all right. I want both of you to do an org chart, and then we'll put them together, and we'll see which one I like.
If I'm on the
Tuesday
counterpoint
one.
side, I think first I need to understand from the office what it is, what the intended expenditure is, and what is the line item, or what did plan to spend, what
I
they
think
want.
what Mr. Smith
how they
wants,
spend it.
though, is to clearly have a larger resource to do community events,
To do cultural community.
cultural events, community cultural
And
events.
right now, you
In the
can't
district.
use this fund to do that.
I can't use it for equipment rental, I can't use
Oh.
it for
Well-
food at the event. I mean, the
Okay.
provisions say acquisition of accessible art, acquisition or construction of arts and culture. We get $20,000 per year. I don't have the opportunity to.
We do allow latitude for equipment rental. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If I hire Erica to perform and sing, in the summer concert series, and she needs sound equipment, she needs a microphone, she needs something that's directly related.
Right.
If I'm going to have a film presentation where I need to rent a film screen or a projector, there are certainly limited instances in which the rental is directly tied
Right.
to the artistic production. What we do not want is to rent canopies, tables, porta potties, chairs, things that, for instance, general services could
What if
provide.
the artist has to go to the bathroom?
And so,
Did you hear that?
I'm sorry.
What if there needs to be a facility? Let's say you have a band, a cultural band, and they're at a stage, and maybe it's at this, whatever it is, but they need a facility to,
Yeah.
That's when we would expect that they would come to us to look for an appropriate venue, and we would either use our existing venues or identify an organization that has an
We
appropriate
have
venue.
Our venues in
Yeah.
town.
There are
Wow.
public toilets
Yeah.
that have you seen those public toilets that have art inside of them?
right.
So,
Have you guys seen those? They're like beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I know. Hey, here's what we're going to do. Go to council, move this to council. I want to see some org charts and some information so we can consider it, so the council can clearly understand it. I have a full concept of it, but I wanted to get it clear.
Yeah.
And then we'll go there. Mr. Smith will explain it. And also what we need to know is how much money is taken out of the hands of artists, North Hollywood, Venice, San Pedro, Boyle Heights, Hollywood, wherever it is, because this is funds that may go to artists. That's our challenge, John. And that's.
So how do you see this? You see this going to council and what? If you have your org chart, then are we going to make a recommendation that these funds could have?
Yeah, I think we can make a recommendation based on what Mr. Lee has said, but I want to make sure that there's there, and you could suggest that there's a cap, meaning that we strike out anything you think is auxiliary cost.
Maybe it's a percentage of the funds go to other uses. Maybe that's something, that's the way we could look at it.
Right.
Chance to talk after this
15% of the
meeting.
funds can be used for,
Right. We'll have a chance to talk after this meeting. I mean,
Okay.
I think some of the funds
I just
he's
wanna know
discussing
Right.
are different
where
funds
we're
from the
going.
council civic funds that
Okay.
are being affected.
Very good. We'll have the CLA involved. I want the CLA of either a VOC or Mr. Miller.
They have to
Or Lynn.
they have to change the administration code. So you're going to ask for the city attorney to bring that to council?
Well, how long did it take to change the administration code? A day?
oh my
Did
God,
you?
I'd rather not comment on that,
Yeah.
council member. I mean,
that could take a long time.
Right. We asked our city attorney, this is the first time we've asked you for anything, so,
You want to know how long the process would take to amend the administrative code?
right.
Oh, my word.
That's hard to say.
All right, let's see if we have the correct writing we all agreed upon right now. Is this after we vote for it in council or right now, John?
well,
So it's going to city attorney? I think we take it to city
Can-
council,
can we just-
get the vote by the council, then order the
have
city
the
attorney to
attorney.
do it.
If the office has a specific,
I mean,
Yeah.
how the body would make this new.
Yeah, and then we would go forward with the
Yeah.
administrative code.
I think, if there's a specific use that they want to look at, maybe we should have that dialogue and see, maybe we could resolve it without having to go through the whole process of making of an amendment.
But-
And
I
Because-
prefer it moved-
Counterpoint.
I prefer it, though, while we're talking, it move to council so that there is some sort of urgency.
Yeah, I'm okay. Schedule it for council.
Right.
Schedule it in the next 2 weeks before,
Yeah, but sit down and.
yeah,
there
but
might
figure it
be
out. You got
a
time.
Resolution.
Today's Wednesday.
Because basically, it's really about supporting cultural events. This
Absolutely.
is really all about the council office figuring out how do we support these cultural events
True.
that are
Just
not the El Gritos, but are the...
And a lot of this money is
neighborhood
city and
ones.
council office
Yeah.
funds, and I urge you
Yeah.
to check yours before they get swept in the city.
Yeah.
It's simply,
Got it.
And with all honesty, it's, you can't have the artist and
Right.
the sound equipment and the...
I'm just saying it's simply the way
without-
the motion is written that providing for the use, expenditure of the funds on catering does not go to supporting the artistic or cultural, the way that question
It goes
is
to
posed.
support, well, it goes to support the audience who's coming. I mean, these artists are not performing in a vacuum. They're performing before an audience. I mean, the event is the audience. I mean, that's really why we're not supporting artists to go, perform by themselves in a dark room.
Right.
The event is the public. And what he's talking about are items that support the public. And
Okay.
that is the event. That's the event.
Sounds good to me.
You can't have the artist without the public. It's not an event.
Move it forward to council, have that org chart,
They're in a recording.
have those discussions. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, good. We have a public comment card. Joan Taylor?
Yes, Joan. Yeah, really.
She said she's coming to 2 meetings.
No.
Yeah.
I am Joan Taylor. Because I am deaf, I had asked for a captionist, and through some misunderstanding, there is no captionist, so I will delay my formal presentation until next week. I have a request that you ask the Department of Aging to reform and improve the efficiency of the door-to-door transportation program. And Laura Chick has seen these papers and sent them to the Department of Aging General Director with the recommendation that she answer to me. So I think that is an indication of the merit. I would also appreciate it if before the next meeting you could provide me with the salaries of the 64 drivers in this door-to-door program. The salaries were not given.
Can you hear me?
Without a captionist, I have no idea what you're saying.
Okay, I'll write it on a piece of paper. What I will say is some of that material, if it's available to the public, we'll make it available. If it's not available, we won't, based on the city attorney's ruling. I'm going to write it down. Ms. Taylor, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Write it down. You got good handwriting. Okay. So, thank you. Madam Clerk, for the record, the last 2 meetings, I believe, there was a captionist who was invited to attend, and unfortunately, Ms. Taylor didn't attend. So we try to make our efforts there. Sergeant of Arms, everything well?
Yes.
Thank you very much. CLA?
Yes.
City Attorney? City Clerk?
Yes.
CD4? Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
This meeting's adjourned.
Mr.